Yeah. No, I still have it. It just went away, but that's the way it shows up until I answer the phone. It's the emoji. So what's master?
Hi, Bernie. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. How about you? How you feeling?
Baruch Hashem.
Baruch Hashem negative or Baruch Hashem I'm waiting to be negative? Okay, Kitzat.
No, that's
That's a negative, right?
the control line is there.
Red. Yeah.
There's no T line.
Okay, so you're back in the
Much better than what it was a couple days ago.
I see it. Now I see, yeah, the control line. I see, yeah. So you you've rejoined the world.
Yeah, I went to davening today finally in the morning.
Okay, that's good. So Ernie's going to take a little longer because every day Marav is a few minutes later.
Yeah, and there was a big. I actually went to Mincha. I was going to go to Mincha Church Phil, and I got there, and there's a big event there, so there's no parking anywhere. So I just came home.
So I don't know. Is that where he davens Mincha Marav too?
Ernie, yeah, typically, yeah.
I guess an alternative is going to Genauer or going to the Young Israel.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Genauer has the Mincha Marav minyan?
Yes.
Okay.
That's close for you too.
I didn't know you had it.
I'm going to your brother's neighborhood tonight. I'm flying out to back to New York and then for a few days in the five towns and out to Teaneck for Shabbos.
Oh, very nice. So I'll miss you on Shabbos.
Okay. I'm sure we'll survive. Walter.
Hey, Ben.
Hello, Walter. How are you?
Good, tired, but otherwise okay. Thank you.
How many days does it take for you to get rid of your fatigue from the experience you had?
I don't know. I don't know. Honestly, don't know. All right. Anyway, when is Leora having the operation now, right?
Yeah, in the morning. Probably a 7:30 case. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Should have a first timer.
Amen. Amen.
Okay. Just make sure he doesn't. Okay.
I've told Ernie he's going to dedicate this year. I spoke to Jance after you told me about him. He said he's doing much better.
Okay, good.
I spoke to my son in New York. He tells me his father-in-law also just happened to catch it. He went somewhere to a function. Same thing. So it's very easy to catch or recatch. But it's not the same severity as you mentioned yourself.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hi, Mario.
Hi, Barney. How are you?
Baruch Hashem, I'm good.
Good.
Hopefully you are too.
I am. Hi, Chaim.
Hello.
Yeah, you're quiet in the last few sessions, huh?
I'm here listening.
Okay. Oh. Hi, Yaakov.
Hi, how are you?
Good.
Good.
Hey, Yaakov.
Hi, Bernie, how are you?
Good.
So nobody goes over to Ernie's house because it's too late. It'll start at 8. I'm just trying to guess what's going on. And by the way, I think this is for you, Mario, or maybe it was Walter. Notice it's not St. Patrick's Day. I'm not wearing a green shirt.
Oh,
Whoever
I
accused me of
see.
celebrating St. Patrick's Day
You
last
changed
week.
to blue now.
Yes, yes, and I'm American, not Irish.
Okay. But you could be American Irish or
Today is
Irish.
excuse me, today
Irish
is a very
American.
important day. It's D-Day today.
Today is D-Day.
You should be wearing
Absolutely.
your khakis.
Yeah,
Um,
they don't fit
Miss-
anymore. They don't fit.
They too big for you, Yaakov? Is that the
How
problem?
did you know?
I just wanted to verify.
Only been, let's see, 77. It's only been 45 years.
hmm.
That's 3. Here we are. Oh, I have my trusty tissue. We don't have 3.
Oh. Oh. No, no.
Sure, it's for tonight.
I don't know, maybe.
I don't know what happened. It's usually not so late. I guess davening is getting later and later.
There was a big, there's some simcha or something at Shar Tefillah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, he goes to Shat Villa?
Yeah.
Call him up, what's the?
There he is.
Oh,
I called him
yeah.
right away, Mario. You see?
Yeah.
Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Tonight's learning is going to be for Bernie Monderer's niece, Liora Basrivka, that she should have a before Shlema. She's going to have surgery tomorrow morning in Eretz Yisrael. Okay?
Oh,
Liora Basrivka.
Thank you.
Should have a first shleima.
Amen.
and for Shlema,
Mario, you always are where I left off,
103.
103. Okay. Oh, the old one? Oh, okay. So
What page?
we're on 101, 103.
I thought we got to 104, but okay.
No.
We said that normally you can't use water for an intestine that you can't drink. So the Mishnah Berurah said if you boil it, you can. And the Yalkut Yosef says, "Ein noitlim yadai b'mei hayam." So lechatchila you can't do an intestine with seawater. Because a dog wouldn't drink it. So what does he say? Yad bil yodav b'mei hayam. You can use the act of tvila, where you immerse your hands into the ocean. And I think somebody was discussing this, asking me last time about this. V'hu adin b'ma'ayan. Let's say you have a free-flowing spring. Afilu ein bo arboim sa. Sheyad vil shamis yodav. You can be toivel your hands in such a body of water. But also lo natilo. Kol shemiskas yodav b'yam b'vasachas. If the water is deep enough to cover your hands in one shot. Then he gives another alternative. If you boil the seawater until it's not bitter, if he can't boil it, and he can't immerse his hands in the ocean, Kagon shu nimtza b'sfina. He's in a boat. V'kiyotzu b'zeh. Ve'en lo mayim acherim l'netila. And he has no other water. Yitol yadav b'mei hayam amluchim derech netila v'lo yivarech.
Ravi,
You should reach in with a cup to the seawater and do netilas yadayim with a cup, but don't make a bracha. V'zeh adif yoiter masher yinakes yadav b'midei the monkey. We're going to see that the alternative would be like to scrub your hands like on a dry towel. That's better. Excuse me, it's better to use seawater, but don't make a bracha because you're using water than using some kind of cleansing material or, like, and use a bracha nekiyas yadayim. Thus, although one may not pour seawater on one's hands for netilas yadayim, one may either boil it or immerse one's hands in it. The Piskei Tshuva suggests that just as one may boil seawater to purify it and render it drinkable, so too one may also use desalinated seawater for netilas yadayim. I think we were asked about that last week as well. As stated, one may immerse one's hands in an ocean, river, or other kosher mikveh instead of washing them with a vessel. This method is mentioned in the Tosefta in Masechta Yadayim, and a number of the Rishonim, such as the Rajban Chulin, mention this. The logic behind it is that immersing one's hands in a mikveh should be no worse than immersing one's entire body, through which the body becomes tahor. The Shulchan Aruch also notes this alternative method of cleansing the hands before eating. He rules that a person who immerses his hands this way would recite the regular bracha of al netilas yadayim. The Ramah argues, and the individual should say al tvilas yadayim, because you immersed your hands, as opposed to netila, which is picking up water in a kos, right? Hamatvil yadav einu mevarach al tvilas yadayim, el al netilas yadayim. That's the Machaber. V'yesh oimrim, which is the Ramah, the mevarchen al tvilas yadayim, or al shtifas yadayim, v'chein ikr. So, despite this Ramah, that you should alter the usual bracha, the Mishnah Berurah rules in accordance with the Shulchan Aruch, not like the Ramah, unusual for us Ashkenazim. The Mishnah Berurah says, "Eina mavarech," the normal bracha shehechan tzuna shehechan tzivanu ala tefillah. There's no mitzvah of tefillah. There's a mitzvah of the netilas yadayim. Aval netila netzavinu. Shemach maschiv netila shnatzrinu anu matvilin achshav. It's because of the mitzvah of netila that we're doing the tefillah there. And then v'achronim iskimu kedasa machaber levarch al netilas yadayim. V'rakim amayim psulim lenetila. If the waters are pasul in netila, v'rak letefillah, and u'klakwan b'simin kufzes mevarch al tefillas yadayim. Let's fit for immersion, but not fit for netila. I don't know what the example of that would be. Verse 18 above. I'm not sure what he's referring to. So the Mishnah Berurah is ruling that tefillas yadayim, not al tefillas yadayim. The Mishnah in Yadayim explains that if water had previously been used for some function, you can't use it for netilas yadayim. Asa b'hem malacha, you wash the dishes with the water, and you have leftover water. O shashar ben pito, or you soaked your bread. You did some malacha with the water, psulin, so they can't be used for netilas yadayim. That's what the Mishnah Yadayim says. And the Shulchan Aruch codified it in these simonim of netilas yadayim. Also b'mayim malacha, you did some kind of work with the water, or shashar ben pito, you soaked your bread in it. Afil niskavein, lishros bekli zev, and afal l'sheni. You didn't have kavanah to put it in that vessel, it just fell in. It's still psulim. Now, imtsinein yayin b'mayim. You have very cold water. You have a bottle of wine, and you want to chill the bottle of wine by putting it in the water. So psulim, you were mishtamesh with the water, and therefore it's puzzle. Imidiach bam kelim, you used water to wash dishes, psulim. Mayu kelim educhim o chadoshim. If you rinsed it, you only rinsed off dishes that had already been washed or were new, then you could use the water for Netilas Yadayim. And the Yalkut Yosef gives us other scenarios of used water when you can't use it for Netilas Yadayim. Misha shar yerokos b'mayim kadei shelo yichmoshu. You have vegetables. You don't want the vegetables to dry out, so you soak them in water. Asur litol yadav b'mayim mele. You can't use the water for Netilas Yadayim. Im hiniach bakbuk chalav cham b'toch kli mayim tzonanim. You're trying to cool off a heated bottle of water for an infant. So you put it in a vessel that has cold water. You may not use that water for Netilas Yadayim, similar to cooling the bottle of wine. Like he brings wine, or mayim b'mayim, or you have a bottle of water that you want to cool off, and you put the bottle of water in another kli that has cold water in it, you won't be able to use that water for Netilas Yadayim. And litol mem Netilas Yadayim, the choshev k'mayim shenasa b'malacha. It's considered that you used the water to do work. Aval, im hiniach mayim tzorin b'toch mayim karim, kidei shelo tafik sinasa. You have cold water, and you put them in other cold water because you want it to keep it cool. You don't want the water to heat up. Because there was really no work done, cold and cold, it just preserved it. Work is done when there's energy flow. But if there was no energy flow, there's no work. It's a physics principle too. When there's a delta T, so there's work. But here there's no work. So, Netilas Yadayim, Veinam chashuvim k'mayim shnatzim b'malacha. V'chein anoisen kankan soda. You have a can of soda, l'toch mayim karim k'dei lishmor lakor. The soda can's already cold, and you just want to preserve the cold. Amayim shein Netilas Yadayim. Me'achar sharak shamar ala soda shlo titchamim yoter. All you do is protect the soda can from heating up. The soda kvar, the soda can was already tzonenet. In our times with indoor plumbing, this halacha is not as relevant as it once was, since one can usually simply turn on the faucet to obtain new water. Nevertheless, cases such as these can occasionally be relevant, where there's a temporary disruption of the water supply, or one is on a camping trip and only has a limited amount of water. Okay. Page 106. Now we're going to talk about how do we wash our hands. First, we talk about the quantity of water. The vessel used for Netilas Yadayim must be capable of holding a revius. Rav Chaim Nai holds that a revius is 86 milliliters. The Chazon Ish said it's 150 milliliters. So how much water must one actually use when washing one's hands? That's just the size that the kli has to be. The Gemara in Chulin says that the quantity of water needed in Netilas Yadayim is a revius. But the Gemara explains that once the vessel contains a revius, this amount is sufficient for more than one person. Amar Rava, kli shein bo revius ein noten ben liyadayim. If you have a kli that doesn't have a revius, you can't use it. Whereas the Zaini, it's not so. Amar Rava, kli shein machzor revius ein noten ben liyadayim. Hamachzik afagav delespe. So as long as the vessel can contain a revius, even if it doesn't have a revius in it, were medayik that you could use it. So loy kasha, halachad, halatrei. Depends whether we're talking about one person or two people. That is the statement where you need a capacity of a revius, it's for two people. If it contained enough for a revius, even though it was less in it, the second individual can use the remainder. Right? The Tanya, may revius, with a revius, you can wash one person's hands. Afilu d'shnayim, shum deka'asu mishari tahara. And a revius is enough to create tahara, and therefore it's enough for two. Rashi explains that if a second person washes using the remainder of the revius used by the first person, the netilas yadayim of both is effective. Says Rashi there in Chulin halachad v'alatrei, lachad revius be'inim mitchila. For one person, you require to start off with a revius. Avalatrei shayabo revius v'notel arishon. If you start off with a revius, and the first guy didn't use all of it. If you only start off with exact revius, and the first guy already used half of that, so you don't have a full revius for the second, shapir. That's okay. Oil umishar Torah also. They came from a source of water that could produce tahara. The cost of mishar Torah val mikar it's sheba revius. You have to have at least a revius there. According to Rashi, second person can wash his hands even though there's now less than revius. The Rashba explains that a second person may only use the water of the first while the water is still being poured, meaning that if the person is washing, a second person may put out his hands underneath the first and subsequently use the water. But a second person may not use a quantity of water less than the revius that remains from the first individual once the first has completed his washing. So what the Rashba is saying is that two people could wash their hands simultaneously from the same revius. But if the first guy used some of the revius for his, it wouldn't work for the second. So we see a machlokes between Rashi and the Rashba. So let's learn the Rashba first. Uprishna, we explain that because it started off with revius, which is a man for tahara, ikalamedik. We have to understand what's going on here. If both watch at the same time, my shari tara ikka. What do you mean if they watched it simultaneously? What remainder is there? It can't be a remainder case if they both use it at the same time. If they did it sequentially, even though it started with a revius, who cares? They did it sequentially. As long as there's no pause in the stream, it means the first guy is pouring it on his hands, and the other guy sort of ducks his hands underneath the first guy. That's a kula. V'chein pirish Ramban mishum davi nitzik chibur. There's a concept of nitzuk that when you pour something, the pour is considered connected to what's in the thing that you're pouring from. So the Shulchan Aruch rules in accordance with the Rashba and offers practical connections to illustrate the ruling. And he cites the view of Rashi as some permit. Let's see the footnote in 13. The Mishnah Mikvos.
Ernie, sorry, wouldn't this be considered a chibur like we learned in the Gemara? That's like a chibur from hand to hand.
The Gemara is going to, with the footnote that I'm about to read, is going to describe our Gemara. The Mishnah that we're dealing with is, if let's say a mikvah had exactly 40 saw of water, and Reuven goes into the mikvah, and he begins to exit, and there's water on him. So the mikvah is less than 40, it was exactly 40. Some of that water is on the first guy's body, but the first guy's leg is still in the mikvah, even though 90% of his body is out of the mikvah and there's water on him, right? He maintains one leg of the mikvah. The water on his body is considered to be connected to the mikvah. That's called nitzuk. and the mikvah is still kosher. So if a second guy walks into the mikvah while the first guy is standing there with one leg in there, there's basically 40 saws still in the mikvah. So too in this case, the water being poured is still considered to be one unit of revius. The halacha is usually not in accordance with this opinion with respect to a mikvah, but Chazal were more lenient for Netilas Yadayim. Well, let's see how the Shulchan Aruch paskin, 108. Tzurba M'Rabanan revius. You have to have a revius of water. Two people come to wash their hands. Ha'achron ein sarich. The second guy does not need a revius. V'afilu b'zachar zeh. As long as the stream isn't broken, that means he sticks his hand under the first guy as the first guy's washing. Okay, so I revius mine bekli. There's a revius mine in a kli pochad echad yadav, and the first guy put his hands out. Va'achar yutzaka yadav, and someone, not himself, poured it over his hands. Ubar sheni upochad yadav l'matim menu. Second guy comes and sticks his hands below the first guy. The stream pours on the first guy's hands and the second guy's hands. Yidei shneim tohoros. Afal pisha piches shia revius. Kishem megim liyadav shel sheni. Even though when it hits the hands of the second guy, there's got to be less than revius. Yadatars b'neishem boy mishaytar. The water is flowing from an initial volume of revius, which is a shear of tahara. V'yesh matir, and this is Rashi. Afilu kishnot im zachar zeh hoil uv'shash shehitzchala echad litoba mayabem revius. So we see clearly the sheet of the Rashba and the Rashi elucidated in the Shulchan Aruch. The Mishnah Berurah clarifies some of these details. Shenoitel shtei yoda b'vasachas. Another person is pouring the water. Even he washes one hand at a time. The revius will be good for both. Maybe one of his hands was already tore, and he only needs to wash one of his hands. You still, if you're going to purify one hand, you should still start off with the revius. Revius of water in total sufficient for washing both hands, provided that the relevant areas of the hand are washed, which we're going to cover soon. Kasvu achroinim, dahainu shemetchila kavanoli tol biyachad. That's the achronim say that the two people who came intended to wash together. Even if the second guy sticks his hands there after the first guy had started, the netila works. Gamlo for him. It's as if they did together. One is not metami one to the other. If they didn't have kavana at the same time to wash, and he had kavana to pour for himself, and then the second guy stuck his hands, even while the stream is still intact, that's not good. That's as if the second guy is washing in the refuse water of the first guy. Also lo netila. Achron ein sarich. Doesn't have to wash again. As long as the amount of water that falls on his hands covers the part of his hands that need to be washed, which we're going to talk about very soon. This is, even though you do it sequentially, this was Rashi's shita that said it is okay. The person should pour on his hands twice. ulitzamtzem benetiloso, to be careful to preserve water. There'll be enough water for the second guy to do it. According to Rajba, you want to pour the whole revius. You can rely on this, on the lenient shita. The Pischei Tshuva summarizes and the opinions and the practical conclusions. V'nesakem b'ktsara, he's going to summarize hadin d'tzis adayim, shokabim ne'adim v'asachas b'shas adchag gadol. Now, how many times has anybody here washed their hands along with another person? It's a pretty strange thing, but I guess in Europe and in other places where water was not that prevalent, and not only that, maybe a kli wasn't prevalent, whatever.
Or in Arizona today, where they don't seem to have any water.
Okay. Because you can see that the poskim are going through a great amount of detail to take care of two people washing at the same time. The second guy puts his hands underneath the first guy. Almost they could be touching. And then the first guy pours sort of two pours on each hand. You could also pour it on both hands at one time. I'm not sure he could do that. Somebody else could probably
Yes,
somebody else would have to be washing his hands in order for both of his hands to be washed at the same time. And the water flows and hits the other guy. And the Natila works for the second. Even if there was less than revius, when it hit the second guy's hands. As long as every portion of his hand that needs Natila, it reaches them. To the end of his knuckles. Through this manner, two people can use one revius. 3 or 4 people could use 2 revius. And with a log, many people, which is 4 reviuses. He brings that the second day had the sheet of Rashi, which permitted sequential washing, even though the second guy has less than revius. He waits until the second guy did it. Here he says, he actually takes the bowl. No, the bowl from which the first poured his water and then washes with that water. Right, he's translating it. It sounds like the Hebrew says that he can take the water from the refuse. I don't know, normally we don't allow that. So they translate it in English as he's taking water from the bowl, which the first guy had used water, initial water. Because even though it's less than a revius, it started at a revius. I think that's what you have to explain. And lechatchila, you should do it k'derech harishon. Using one revius of water for 2 people in manner described by Shulchan Aruch Piskei Tshuva can be a valid option when traveling with a group with only a limited amount of water. Now, which part of the hands must the water reach? We saw in the previous year that Netilas Yadayim was enacted in a few different contexts. For Kohanim to partake of Truma, for non-sacred food, and for the washing of hands of the Beit HaMikdash. However, as explained in the Gemara Masechta Chulin, these different contexts involve different standards of washing and involve different portions of one's hands that must be washed. This is Chulin Kuf Vav Amud Aleph. Tod Rabbanan, Netilas Yadayim LeChulin, for non-sacred food, Ada Perek, until the joint of the fingers. Which means here, right? Till the joints. The Truma, Ada Perek. Kiddush Yadayim V'Raglai B'Mikdash, Ada Perek. Sounds like you have to do it to the same place. So Amar Rav Ad Kan L'Chulin, Ad Kan L'Truma. So Rav said you only go to the second joint of the fingers, which is here, right, halfway down your fingers, for non-chulin, for chulin, and you go to the third joint for truma, which means where the fingers join the palm. And Shmuel said, Ad kan bein lechulin bein letruma. Shmuel said that you have to wash for both until the palm. And Rav Sheshes Amar Ad kan bein lechulin bein letruma lekul. And Rav Sheshes was more lenient and said both for chul and truma you could go to the second joint. Amar bar Heida, have a kamina kamed Ravami. I was by Ravami. The Amar Ad kan, meaning the palm, right? The joint, the connection between the fingers and the palm, bein lechulin bein letruma, which lechumra. The lo tema, don't say Ravami mishum de koinu. Maybe you'll tell me Ravami was more stringent because he's a kohen. The Rav Maisha bar Breda, Rav Yeshua ben Levi, have a Leviah. He was a Levi. He said you have to go to the third joint for chulin and truma. That's the Gemara. So according to Gemara, there's a dispute among the Amoraim. How much of the hand must be washed for Netilas Yadayim, and whether a uniform standard applied to chulin, truma, and kodesh. The Gemara concludes that the opinion of Rav Yeshua ben Levi was that you should have been stringent even for chulin, as you were for truma, though not as stringent as when you were in the Beis HaMikdash. For the Beis HaMikdash, you'd have to go where the palm meets the wrist. According to Rashi and the other Rishonim, the disagreement is whether one has to wash until the middle of the fingers, which is the second knuckle or perek, or until the end of the fingers, the third knuckle, where the fingers join the palm. According to the conclusion of the Gemara, which follows Rav Yeshua ben Levi, one must be machmir for chulin, non-sacred food, like for truma, which requires washing till the end of the knuckles, where the fingers connect to the hand. The Rif had a different version of the Baraisa. According to his version, one is required to wash until the pakak, which is the place where the fingers connect to the hand, right? The third perek, even for non-sacred food. And for truma, where the hand meets the arm, meaning the wrist. According to this, the conclusion of the Gemara is that one must be machmer, even for chulin, to wash the entire hand. And it's not enough to wash only one's fingers. The Beis Yosef, who was the commentary of the tour, summarized all these opinions. Hariv Kosav Baraisa Zuba Perek Elu Dvorim V'Ugars Kiddush Adav Raglayim Ad LePerek. The washing hands and feet, the Beis HaMikdash, was to the middle of the knuckles. L'chulin Ad LePekak, and for chilin to the hand. L'truma Ad LePerek. Because of, and he wrote, V'asikna Mishum Yeshua ben Levi Ad LePerek, has to go to the middle joint, bein lechulin bein letruma, v'ilchas hakavosei. V'kosvu harav yoina v'arosh, the kivin domar ad leperek, v'meli yadan ad avi lechulin ad hakana. So we know that it's more machmir to go to the end of the hand because of our rosh. But that's a very big chumrah, and the people didn't follow that. V'divrei Rambam stumim. The Rambam is not clear. Rashba, b'Torah Sabayis, Kosav shekedivrei Rav Alfasi, the Rif, nearer lo ikar. The Kosav Rabbeinu Yerucham, another Rishon, shekein noago olam. The MS, shekein roy linog. The Beis Yosef says we should be machmer, even to lav milsa kricha. It's not very difficult to wash your whole hand. Wash your whole hand, and then you won't be involved in machlokas. Below gar, it's not worse. Be my damar of Chizda. I wash my hands with handfuls of water, and I was given great parnosa because of that. So to get the benefits of washing your hand, you should use a lot of water. We see from the Beis Yosef that the Rishonim disagreed whether one should ideally wash the entire hand or only until the knuckles. And it's recommended to be strict because it's not difficult. The Shulchan Aruch echoes this conclusion. He first cites the stringent view, and then the lenient view as a yeshomim. And he concludes that it's proper to follow the first view. Shirat this time kol hayad ad kanashul zro, to the wrist. The yeshomim ad mokam chibur etzbos, some sent where the fingers meet the palm. V'roy lino kedasa rishon. The language of the Beis Yosef and the Shulchan Aruch indicate that although it is best to be stringent, according to the letter of the law, one may rely on the lenient view. Nevertheless, the Bir Halacha, meaning the Chafetz Chaim, in his commentary on the Mishnah Berurah, writes that based on the opinion of many Rishonim, one must be stringent according to the letter of the law as well, and it's required to wash until the wrist. V'roy linag matzasi kein dvareinu acher kach b'sifer Atzei al Moigim v'zel Lashona. I found this in another sefer. Hinei ariticha beinecha shedas gdol Rishonim Elohema Arif Arabam Rabbeinu Chananel v'Asmag favorite mitzvahs gedolos v'Ariva v'Orch v'Rashba. They all paskin shemidina the Gemara tzarch netilat mokum chibur hayad v'azra. You have to wash till the wrist. L'chei nirali the chayv kol adam lino kemidina v'lo mitam. It's not a chumrah. You have to wash this way. Make radin. Udulokum ashra'iti miktas achroinim, and not like I saw some of the achroinim shekos v'anoi kein tzarch lahasnois sheina also kein le'iku v'lo mitam chumrah. That you have to make a t'nai that if you follow this view, you should make a statement that he's not accepting this as a binding, that you have to do this every time, but you're doing a chumrah. He doesn't agree with that. He says, make a radin, it has nothing to do with the stringency. V'shamati miktsas ha'amon, that nimshach machri adin hazeh, that people don't wash until the wrist, mizalzin shalito yadayim, kimad mekom chibur etzbos, ula ainiyas daiti, bichlal mizalzim et yisadayim hafem yachshavu. The Mishnah Berurah says he thinks they're being mevazin et yisadayim. Mikol mokom nir laniyas daiti. The Mishnah, the Bir Halacha says, "Dasomet lakel al dei hashniya b'shas adchak." If you want to rely on a lenient opinion to go just until the junction between the fingers and the palm, we don't protest. The Kama Rishonim Kaima B'Shitas, we had Rishonim, Elohim Rashi v'Toisvus v'Arosh, and the Smak u'Mordechai v'Ridva v'Shibol Aleket and the Marshal. So you have a big contingent who were lenient. And even though the minhag today is to wash your whole hand, don't use the bare minimum of water, but use it in abundance. If you're very careful and you only use exactly revius, you're not going to wash your hands fully. He says you should be very careful about that. Okay. We'll stop here.
Ernie, so one of the Shittot said that they had a big atzlocha when they washed their hands completely fully,
Yes.
because when you make the bracha al netilat yadayim, it's shelosa, that it's not it's oni. It's oni. Al netilat yadayim is oni.
Okay.
So that's why you have atzlocha. That's why you wash your whole hand. So you shouldn't be an oni.
Very good. Very good. I give we all give that bracha to all of us, that we should wash Mesilas Yadayim b'shafa, shafa rav. Bracha to Rosh HaKodesh.
Amen.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead,
Shkoyach.
Steve.
Have a good